What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Financial Conspirator, your guide for everything financials and conspiracies. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin scaling and the opportunity with strategy, its new FASB rulings, and the MNAV undervaluation. Let's get right into it. The problem with Bitcoin transactions. So if we want Bitcoin to succeed, not only as a store of value, but as a payment system, a monetary network, we need it to be faster, right? Bitcoin right now on the base layer only does about 7 transactions per second, and Visa does thousands within seconds, right? Scalability is a problem. We need it to be faster and more widely used and cheaper.
Standing in the way of this goal, and that is scalability. Let me give an example. The payment provider Visa processes on average around 4,000 transactions per second and can scale up to a maximum of 65,000. Bitcoin, on the other hand, can handle up to 7 transactions per second with the current block size of 1 megabyte. Not tens of thousands, but just 7. Clearly, the main blockchain isn't very scalable, but it doesn't have to be. The community has come up with a new technique called the Lightning Network to solve the scalability issues. The key idea is that small and everyday transactions don't have to be stored on the main blockchain. This avoids the 7 transactions per second limit and is also called the off-chain approach. So how does it work? Well, let's take a look at an example. Let's say that every morning Bob buys a cup of coffee on his way to work. Creating a transaction on the blockchain for a simple coffee is really overkill. He might end up paying more fees than the actual price of his coffee. However, with the Lightning Network, Bob can set up a payment channel with the coffee shop. To do that, both the coffee shop and Bob deposit a certain amount of Bitcoin in what is called a multi-signature address. Let's assume that Bob deposits 0.05 Bitcoin and that the coffee shop deposits nothing because they don't offer refunds. This multi-signature address is basically like a safe that can only be opened when both parties agree. When we open the payment channel, we also make a balance sheet that says how the funds in the address should be distributed. So right now it says that Bob will get 0.05 Bitcoin and that the coffee shop will get 0 Bitcoin, the same as they deposited. Opening the payment channel happens on the main blockchain so that there is full transparency. The coffee shop owner can see that Bob has deposited 0.05 Bitcoin, and he can rest assured that he will get his money once the channel closes. Now that the channel is open, Bob can order his morning coffee. Let's say that a coffee costs 0.001 Bitcoin. To pay for it, Bob simply changes the balance sheet. He subtracts the cost of a coffee from his balance and adds it to the coffee shop's balance. So now it says that Bob will get 0.045 Bitcoin and that the coffee shop gets 0.005 Bitcoin. Bob and the coffee shop now sign the updated balance sheet with their private keys. They then each keep a copy of it, but they don't do anything else with it. Bob can keep ordering coffee for as long as he has a balance in the payment channel. Both of them can make hundreds of thousands of transactions between them. There's really no limit because this happens away from the main blockchain. But all good stories come to an end. The payment channel can be closed at any time by either Bob or the coffee shop. All they have to do is take the latest balance sheet, which was signed by both parties, and broadcast it to the Bitcoin network. Miners will then validate the signatures on the balance sheet and, if everything checks out, release the funds according to the balance sheet. This will create a single transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain. So the Lightning Network can significantly reduce the load on the main blockchain. It only requires 2 transactions on the blockchain, one to open the payment channel and another one to close it. It's also very safe. The system ensures that only the latest signed balance sheet can be used to unlock the money. And because both parties have a signed copy of the balance sheet, they can release the funds at any time, even if the other one doesn't want to cooperate anymore. So for example, Bob cannot hold the money hostage that belongs to the coffee shop, and vice versa. But it doesn't end there. You don't need to open a direct payment channel with everyone you want to send bitcoins to. You can simply use the network to pass your coins around. Here is Alice. She's a friend of Bob. They have exchanged money on the Lightning Network before, so they have an active payment channel. Now let's say that Alice wants to buy a coffee. Instead of opening a direct channel to the coffee shop, she can transfer the money to Bob, who will then transfer it to the coffee shop. So there's no need to create a payment channel with everyone. In the Lightning Network, your payment tries to find a route from person A to person B, and it tries to do this with the least amount of intermediates and the least amount of fees. This further reduces the strain on the blockchain, but it requires the intermediates to have enough money in their payment channels.
All right, and the new FASB rulings. Under the old rules, companies had to report their Bitcoin holdings at their lowest values, and you could never write them back up at their fair market value when prices recovered. So MSTR still has two markdowns on their record that will never be refurbished, right? But now companies are allowed to report Bitcoin at its fair market value, reflecting real-time gains. So if and when we see Bitcoin trekking its way back up to 100,000, 105,000, 110, 150,000, and the MNAV starts to explode from the lows that we're seeing right now, because it's not going to stay at 1.7, which is what it's at right now. Diluted share, the MNAV, according to MSTR tracker, which you can check out for free, 1.7. Right, we saw 3.54 during the last high around 5:30. So from 4x, $4 for one Bitcoin, $1 worth of Bitcoin, to $1.70. Right, so your share, the US dollar per share is going down as the Bitcoin exposure per share is going up with time. Right, we didn't see a buy this week, but eventually we will be seeing more buys. They have 15 billion left in convertible bonds, 4 or 5 billion left in ATM. They haven't even touched Strike yet, which is up 15% year to date. So there is a lot of potential. All right, 1.7. I don't think we're going to stay below 2 for very long. And if we do, it is a massive, massive buying opportunity. So don't let this go to waste, okay? Stay focused. Volatility is a gift to the faithful. Stay faithful, my friends.